welcome all. Well, we're kind of already introduced, but welcome again.
I
Well, thank you. Welcome back to another safe space. And also, thank you for having a seat with us because it is the Have Several Seats podcast. And today we're going to be talking about marriage. Is it still relevant? Because many individuals and many groups of people, different nationalities, different ethnicities, marriage doesn't seem to be ideal because some feel as though they can do all bad by themselves, or some feel as though why need to involve the paperwork of it all when we're already having a spiritual union? So, what is the point? And for some individuals, marriage brings on security and it also sets a foundation that they want their children to look up to versus what the previous generation did. So sometimes it's idealism. So let's talk about that. Is marriage still relevant? Or do we need to just, hold our rosaries and just wait for Armageddon to come?
Yes, yes. So let's introduce our guests. We have two ladies that are back. We have Sharkeese Nesbitt and Keeza Taylor, who are back to discuss this interesting topic. I don't know about holding the rosary, but this is definitely going to be an interesting topic because I feel like we have four different experiences and moments in time in the sense of age, and of course lived experiences. So who is going to kick it off? So we're talking about, is marriage still relevant to you guys? Taylor, you was over there collecting your data and
yeah,
your
Keisha, you
talking
go ahead.
points. Yeah, so you can
She-
go ahead
She's
and
probably the most prepared.
share, because I'm probably going to argue every top, every point. But go ahead. I'm just teasing.
Sure, I'll start. So I think that the relevancy of marriage is based on your personal lived experience, right? So if you lived in a house where marriage was healthy and loving, then you are going to desire marriage. If you lived in a family where you did not see marriage or marriage was toxic, then you may not be so open to wanting to have the legal paperwork. You may be okay with having the spiritual commitment, the security of cohabitating, because you can buy a house together, a car, and start a business and
Mhm.
all those things and not necessarily be married. So does it necessarily offer security and commitment? And we know that marriage doesn't mean someone's going to be faithful, right? We know
Mhm.
that it doesn't mean that it's going to have commitment. But I think that that is a belief system that we believe if we get married, that this person is going to be committed to us and we're going to be committed to that person. But I think that, marriages fall apart because we don't have enough information about our partner and what their belief about marriage and relationships and even their lived experiences are, because that behavior is going to show up at some point in time during the relationship.
Mhm.
So I I don't think it's I don't think it's a black and white yes or no answer. I think it is really based off of what is a part of your own belief system and your lived experiences. I think there is also, of course, a spiritual component when we talk about biblical principles. And I think that because I believe that the church is toxic, right? So I believe that there's a space where the church pushes you to believe that you have to be married in order to, you know, have blessings from God in order,
Mhm.
don't live in sin and don't shack up and do all of those things. So I think that the church is kind of pushing
Oh,
marriage on people. And that doesn't mean that God is not going to bless you because you do not choose to get married, right? So I think that sometimes if that's our belief system, then we are going to go and get married because that's the belief system that we have. So I don't really think it's a black and white yes or no. I think it is based on your belief system and what your learned behavior is.
Mm, okay. Well, I mean, let's start with some of the history of it, right? Because historically, people got married for survival.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you pick your partner. You know, your community was very limited, small pool, so you pick the partner, maybe that maybe possess some of the qualities that you wanted and maybe even want to carry on, pass on to your children. So it seemed like after like during the industrial period, in a sense, we started romanticizing marriage. And so we all had this different perspective. And so if we started to follow the social norm of getting married, for finding love and the best romantic partner, is it safe to say it's okay to follow this new norm where people feel like maybe marriage is irrelevant because, as you stated, we can cohabitate, we can still be partners. We're also in this culture of individualism. So I don't necessarily have the time and interest in investing in a marriage. I want to be able to kind of leave and move if I have to. I mean, we have folks out here who are married, not even, I'm sorry, not marrying people, but cohabitating, like you said, starting businesses, starting families, have homes. So I guess it does depend on people's belief system. So I'm in the middle of that. I definitely believe in marriage. I came from marriage. My parents will be celebrating 50 years, and they're like one of the youngest couples in our family when it comes to that generation. And so I would say a healthy marriage was modeled for me, but I definitely understand being single all this time and not not
Mm-hmm.
being responsible or accountable, I guess, in a relationship, a serious one for a while. I can see why some younger folks and folks our age too is just not interested in it. So what's your perspective on that, Sharkees?
Well, I want to define or clarify a couple of terms.
Mm-hmm.
So, relevant meaning current or it mattering, marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And then marriage, not it can mean what we understand in legally, like two
Mm-hmm.
coming together, through coming together and formalizing their union through a legally binding contract, right?
Yes.
Or two people coming together and making a commitment without that contract. The marriage is union coming together, right? Whether it be a legally binding union or a non-legally binding union, I think that it is current generally, because we are still unionizing as people,
Mm-hmm.
um, whether it be man and woman, woman and woman, man and man. Um, and we are still getting married legally,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, I think it's necessary, and I think referring to your is current and it matters. That's the place I'm in. It's current
Okay.
and and it matters. Not only because of what we understand those unions to be now, but because of how we're made naturally, how God made us. And no matter what religion you serve or you respect, or you acknowledge, human beings aren't meant to live alone,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is a need to lean into someone in this life, and to care and to live life out with. And we suffer because we, like, what's the word I want to use? We go around that. We circumvent that natural instinct as human beings to be together and to live life out together. So to simply answer the question, yes, it is current and it is necessary. Um, it's a huge topic and is very complicated, because I think the younger folk are not getting married because of well let's I like to talk about Black communities. I don't want to generalize.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
like to
I
talk
can't speak
Mm-hmm.
about the other folks.
I
Anyway.
want I want to mind our business, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think we have moved away from legal and non-legal union
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of reasons. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's explicit in the Black families that are led by single Black women.
Right.
Yes.
Number one, we have out educated and out professionalized and out careered our Black men. Some say that's by design. That's a discussion within itself. Um,
Right.
with that, Black women have moved away from what I say are our natural
Instincts.
roles,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
especially where children are concerned. And even
Mm-hmm.
without children, we're still nurturers, we're
Mm-hmm.
providers, we're
Mm-hmm.
right. So we moving out of that realm into a more out of that a more a feminine realm into a more masculine realm,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and
Yes.
moving into that masculine realm is more professionalism. I've heard, I haven't read these stats, but we lead Black businesses. We're in the corporate spectrum now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, we are seen more masculine. I would say being in that space, I feel more masculine
Mm-hmm.
than feminine,
Mm-hmm.
having to oversee $1 million budgets
Mm-hmm.
and 10 direct FTEs and hundreds of
Mm-hmm.
indirect FTEs
Mm-hmm.
responsible for operations and all the things. And your buddies are corporate men and your one-ups are corporate men. So just like men, and this is interesting, just like men, they tell us when we were more traditional, I go to
Mm-hmm.
work, I want to come home, I want to relax, I don't want to be nagged, right? The same
Mm-hmm.
goes for women. I go to work,
Exactly.
I go to work because now I'm doing the same thing you do. I understand how
Right.
you feel in that culture. I don't want to be nagged. And then they tell us, well, you do that at work, but don't bring that home. Okay,
Mm.
you do
Yeah.
that at work.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Don't
now
bring it home.
it's the same because the
Mm-hmm.
mindset is the same in that
Exactly.
in that world. So that's one of the reasons why um, we're in the predicament that we're in as Black
Mm-hmm.
families.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even with that, it's still marriage still matters, and marriage is still relevant because if you took a 10 of those women and you would ask them what they want most right now, if they were
Mm-hmm.
really
Mm-hmm.
honest with themselves,
Yes.
they would say they want a partner. They want
Right.
somebody to live the rest of their life with.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's the natural instinct. Is to connect and to belong. And when you have trauma,
Mm-hmm.
um, when healthy relationships aren't modeled, and we're all in this sense of survival mode, depending on your level of it. For some people, the survival mode could be just trying to make sure bills are paid. For others, it could just be trying to operate in their authentic self um, and move
Mm-hmm.
through their healing process. That you don't necessarily have the tolerance, um, capacity, or tools to have healthy relationships with people because
Mhm.
that's exactly what it
Mm-hmm.
takes.
Mm-hmm.
And we have choices
Yeah.
that our ancestors, our parents and grandparents didn't have. So some of us, I think most, we were born in the late 70s. And so when our mothers were born, and even maybe before they were married, they weren't able to open up a checking account. So
Mm-hmm.
they're going to operate differently and embrace their roles within the
Mm-hmm.
Black family a little differently than we do. So um, let's ask the youngster. I think that anything you want to have is relevant.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll leave you guys with this real quick. This morning, God put on my spirit the importance of marriage in the sense of man and woman for the companionship, for procreation and
Mhm.
accountability, right? And
Mhm.
so procreation not even just about the babies and the children, but it's about what are you guys as a couple, what are you providing to the world? What are you
Right.
doing?
Right.
Mhm.
Um, and so, in reference to the kingdom. And
Right.
so I understand the spiritual perspective, and I'm not even going to get into, if it's about someone being faithful and committed or not,
Mhm.
because these are just different things. Some people have open marriages.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so they're committed to each other, but they also
Mhm.
in an agreement that we can play around
Right.
outside the marriage, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's just so many nuances to unions and marriage. So Aisha, I'm going to ask you, what are the young folks saying on these streets? What y'all doing?
Well, hmm. Many of us are cohabitating, not me.
The bills gotta be paid.
I mean, I'm not cohabitating because one, my mother would not allow it. And two, I just do not see that for myself because I do believe in the concept of marriage, but I also believe in the spiritual concept of marriage too, because it's one thing to be married on paper, but if you're not protecting my mind, my spirit, and respecting it, and vice versa, same thing with what Miss Sharkey said about what you do at work, don't bring it at home, but don't you bring that at home too. You want meals. Okay, good. If I'm working, can you cook for me too? Or at least get some Uber Eats, do something. So
Right.
it's just that reciprocity. But what I would say is that marriage is still relevant, but many of us, especially my generation, we're also looking at it as a survival concept too, because we know the benefits of it, but we also know that we still don't want to lose ourselves in terms of the patriarchal concept of marriage. As soon as you get married, you lose your last name, you lose your
Mhm.
identity, you lose your
Mm-hmm.
independence. Many of the individuals and the ladies in my generation, we're not saying that we don't want to take on someone's last name or assume that role, but we don't want the concept of, oh, you're a man's wife now, like you're owned in some ways. Because ultimately speaking, there's different ways to look at it, but the marital concept now, we're not saying that cohabitation's any better, but it gives you an element of what it might look like. Okay, I'm seeing these traits. I know, Sharky's, I know.
Sharky's laughing. I'm
There.
over here like, own me, because you want to own these bills that come with me. I'm fine.
Ah,
Own me. Here, where do I
Aisha.
sign up? I'm tired.
Oh,
Own
yeah.
me.
Well, that's not even what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is just what Kisa, did you have something to say?
No, no, no. I'm
Okay.
listening. Go ahead.
I, just learning men.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk about me, right? And if this resonates, then clap your hands and stomp your feet. But
How do you?
what I've learned about men, number one rule that I don't think women have heard or understand, we make decisions about sex.
Mm,
They make decisions about relationships, quote
Mhm.
mm,
unquote unknown. Okay. So when we decide to shack up, couple up without commitment, with an understanding, it's a whatever term you want to apply that to, that just know that we're putting ourselves in a situation, a risky situation, because a
Mm-hmm.
man will use that time,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a mismatch there, right?
there is.
Because a man will use that time for assessment. A woman is using that time as her time in a commitment, even when the commitment is unspoken. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You know?
Mhm.
So then he decides, I mean, he's watching.
I
He is
feel like it's
watching.
the end of his assessment though, because most men will
Mm,
say they know within 6 months, right?
Maybe. It may be the
So
middle, beginning, or
yeah,
end.
I feel like it's the evaluation period. It's
But
like the
what
end.
have we done when we decided to move in? We've in our head
Mm-hmm.
is Oh,
We
this my
already got
man.
the wedding planned. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Um,
sorry. Go ahead, Sharkees. Go
And
ahead. You're
then
not
one
finished.
day he's like, "Nah, this ain't for me." And
Right.
you are, but you're pissed. You're pissed. So in talking about marriage
mhm.
and deciding if marriage for is for you, and in the meantime, I'll just do this while I decide.
Yes.
Keep that
In
in
the
mind.
meantime. Mm-hmm.
Keep that in mind. Keep
Yeah.
in mind what the man is doing during that time.
Right.
Correct.
I
Correct.
think, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I think one of the things that is important to note is that if we kept sex out of the equation, right? Like if
Mm-hmm.
we decided that we were not going to engage sexually with this
Mm-hmm.
person until there was that actual commitment, we
Mhm.
would not necessarily be navigating the nuances and the difficulties of relationships because once we've engaged sexually, there's an investment, at least from the woman's perspective, of we got to figure out how to make this work. And we
Exactly.
say
Yes.
Yeah.
when maybe we need to go and leave because I've engaged with you intimately. But if
Mm-hmm.
we and I'm not saying that it has to be, don't have sex until you get married because I was not a virgin when I got married, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
that if we decided that sex was coming off the table until we
Mhm.
knew that that was actual real commitment and
Mm-hmm.
investment between you and this person that you were in relationship with, we would be navigating less relationships and less challenges and difficulties because I'm not going to give you me until
Mm-hmm.
there are certain things that I've recognized and feel like is worth us engaging and having sex with. It
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily equal that this is what the outcome is going to be, but I
Mhm.
do believe it would be less that you would be navigating the difficulties of all of these in
Mhm.
and out relationships because
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
waiting until we're actually in a space where I want to engage sexually. And
Mhm.
I feel like for our generation, there were
Mm-hmm.
certain things that my mother and grandmother instilled
Mhm.
in me that presented me to have these housewife or wife
Mm-hmm. Yes.
duties or
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
characteristics. Whereas I did not raise my daughter to be a wife. I raised her to be independent and self sufficient and all these other things. And so, is there a space where she might be lacking in some of what is expected as a wife responsibility? Maybe because I
Mhm.
that's not the way that I didn't raise her to be a wife. Where I feel like for me, that was kind of like the end goal. Like, yes, you want to
Mhm.
go to college, yes, you want
Right.
to get a job, but when you're going to get married and have a family,
Right.
when are you
Mm-hmm.
going
Mhm.
to get there? And I didn't raise her that way, so I think that there was a shift in no, your identity is not in being a wife because how
Mhm.
many people have not been able to be a wife or be a mother? And if that's how your identity is built, you got to be a wife, you got to be a mother, and you never reach that, then you struggling with who you are or where you
Yeah.
belong because
That
there's no
disappointment
space.
and defeat.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because you
That's
haven't
interesting.
been raised that just being you as an individual is enough. You don't have to
And that's
check
what I
these
was going to
things
say
off the
because
box.
both I think both of those are
Mhm.
extremes.
Yeah.
Raising a woman to be a wife and a mother, and
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
raising a woman to be super independent, right?
Mhm.
Neither of those extremes reflect who that person really is.
Yeah.
They're actually
Yeah.
they're actually, I would say, most times are traumatic
Yes.
projections,
Yes.
right,
Mhm.
onto that child. Be a
Yes.
wife and a mother, right?
Mhm.
Because that's
That's
what I
what we
was taught.
know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what was beat into me. I was
Mhm.
made to feel insecure about that. So I don't want
Mm-hmm.
my daughter to turn out or be affected the way I was, or
Right.
be super independent and
Hmm.
don't depend on a man for nobody because your daddy was a little good and he had a family that was
Right.
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 All of those.
Yes. All of
Mm-hmm.
that.
And
It's
I
like,
work
where's
with,
the balance? I think
yeah,
I've
Exactly.
raised mine in the balance, in that
absolutely.
middle of,
Mhm.
because she's so close to my parents, and our family. So there are a lot of marital couples that modeled that when I didn't. I modeled the independent, the super independent,
Mhm.
And we actually had a conversation about it recently with her involvement with something or someone. And she said, I thought that's how, that I didn't need this person because I saw you didn't need it. Right. And so, we always had these conversations about the balance. I
Mm-hmm.
want to raise you to be an emotionally healthy
Right.
individual who know who you are. So
Right.
rather
Mm-hmm.
who you are is a woman that don't mind being married to someone who accepts you for who you are. And then you guys negotiate the roles, or you may decide I want to be super independent, maybe have kids or not. But I think part of it is people don't know who they are. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can't really engage healthy in any relationship because what Keys is talking about is emotional intelligence. We're
Right.
Yes.
talking about someone who can say, let's remove sex. Let me figure out, do you possess the qualities that I'm interested in? And if these
Yeah.
qualities align with mine, most
Mm-hmm.
people don't know
Right.
what they want. They don't know who
Mm-hmm.
they are. And as Sharkis was saying, a lot of us were trained to perform in these relationships. So even as a super independent individual, I think for a lot of folks, subconsciously or unconsciously, you've wanted this relationship. So we've seen so many women drop
Mm-hmm.
everything, right, that they've accomplished to be with a man.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think that's part of what's going on with this younger generation
And raised.
because
And
that's you
raised.
too, huh?
And raised guilty. I'm guilty. Guilty
Yeah.
charged. Yes. Yes.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, culturally, what's going on is that it's such a push for individualism. This young group they strive for perfection and exceptionalism, and want to be extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're so hyper focused on themselves. As I stated earlier, it seemed like the skill set and the capacity is missing to really engage people. So it's just easier for me to ignore it altogether and just focus on me and focus on me. And I'm always saying to folks, the World Health Organization has stated we got a loneliness epidemic or pandemic
Mm-hmm.
going
Sure.
on. And so I
Mm-hmm.
don't care what your Facebook and IG page look like. All of us want some sense of belonging, but I think it's just
Mm-hmm.
the world has made it easier to just kind of focus on you. And so, in order to balance that in relationships, I may just need to cohabitate
Mm-hmm.
because I get
Mm-hmm.
to be me. I don't have to cook as
Mm-hmm.
a woman if I don't want to. We have a lot of super independent men. I know I've dated some men that definitely can cook better than me.
Right.
They can keep their homes clean. So what's the need for a woman? So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I got
Mm-hmm.
money to pay a housekeeper. I got money for someone to help me in areas that I may not be able to do, and I can pay my own bills. So each sex feel that way.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
how are we going to come together and literally be committed and to the fight
Mm-hmm.
without spirituality? Because right now that's probably the only thing that's your
I don't even
spiritual belief that's holding these marriages together.
I don't even think it's spirituality. I think it's a good place in time now where we can really understand what relationships are all about, and it's about
Yes.
relating to one another, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
because we both men and women are moving out of the traditional roles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and moving towards the space of super or hyper independence.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a man.
Mm-hmm. I don't need a
I don't need
woman.
a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those I don't needs are based upon traditional beliefs, societal norms,
Mm-hmm.
traumatic experiences,
Mm-hmm.
including
Mm-hmm.
the epigenetics that we carry from our parents, all of those things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So we now know that we don't need for air, for water,
Mm-hmm.
for finances, for all the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a need. What is the need? That's the question.
I
What do
The
think,
we?
connection.
yeah.
I think that
Right.
I'm
I
sorry,
think it,
Keisha. Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, I think it goes back again to the first thing that you said, Sharkise, where, God did not design us to live alone, right? So there is
Mm-hmm.
an innate human desire to have companionship. And then,
Mm-hmm.
Dar, what you were saying is that when we're coming together for marriage, yes, there's all these benefits, financial, health
Mm-hmm.
insurance, life insurance. I mean, there's all these benefits, but what is it that you and your spouse are doing together to fulfill God's purpose,
On a
Mm-hmm.
deeper
to
level.
promote um, God's advancement of the kingdom? So I think that the reason or the underlining need for connection is for that.
Mm-hmm.
Is for human
Mm.
connection and being
Mm-hmm.
able to operate in how are we fulfilling our purpose together
Mm-hmm.
as this
Together.
couple, as this husband and wife, and what are we doing for that belief and that advancement? I believe that's where it holds its relevancy.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. But what about, to play devil's advocate, not saying that I'm in this category, just to, prepare what I'm about to say. But what about,
A little longer than a few minutes later.
I didn't even hear you because you paused. It
okay,
was, it was the interceding of the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
don't even do it. Okay, so what I was about to say was, for the individuals who know that marriage is relevant and they know that it's also a spiritual connection and it's also just a foundation that is built. But what about individuals who respect all of that, but they're a little bit more career driven, goal oriented, and they feel as though there's a higher purpose in their life, that they don't have to be in a marital union, have relationships, either professional, either spiritual, that benefits a greater goal or a greater cause. And some individuals may not want kids at all. They
Mm-hmm.
may want to be the world's best auntie, or the world's best dog parent, because that's something that I've noticed even in my professional space and even with work. There's a lot of individuals, it's not as though they don't want a relationship, but they're just not, I don't want to say thirsty, but they're just not, they don't feel the need for it. Where if the opportunity presents itself, they're not going to deny the opportunity, but they're just not feeling as though that's their life's work is to be a wife, be a mom, or have that family. They want to share that same attention that they would into a family in their work or purpose. So, what would you all speak to that? Because each person's life is different, and some individuals, they feel as though they're more fulfilled in helping others.
I would have to query that person. I would have to
Mm-hmm.
understand
Mm-hmm.
their early childhood, the development, their parents,
Yeah.
because no matter what, we are human beings, and the
Yeah.
way we are designed, the way we move, just look at how babies are made, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that you talk about by design. That's by
Yeah.
design. So
Mm-hmm.
I do believe, like, there are people who don't care to have children, right? But
Mm-hmm.
before I won't say it accept or respect, but before I have a final understanding of that
Mm-hmm.
decision, I would really have to understand those folks, because in my heart and soul, we're not meant to be alone. And now alone may be relative,
Mm-hmm.
but in my 27 years as a healthcare provider, the death and caring for the dying, right?
Mm-hmm.
The regret is not
Yes.
not taking advantage of corporate
Yes.
opportunities of
That's
work.
right.
Got
That's
The
it.
right.
the regret is family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always family. I should have spent more time with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I could
Yeah.
have did right by my
Mm-hmm.
wife, right?
Right.
And for the men, the countless men that I've come across, and are their chronic illness has become acute
Mm-hmm.
and now terminal, and they need somewhere to convalesce. And you're like, okay, where are your kids? Oh, I haven't
None.
spoken to kids. My
Yeah.
kids don't speak to me anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
is so to answer your question, Aisha, I would have to understand the reason for that extreme deviation in
Mm-hmm.
human practice, if you will. And a lot of those people maybe just avoid real extreme avoidance. They have an
Mhm.
avoidant attachment style, and that something happened to them way back when,
Mhm.
and to not, as a means of survival, because our emotions are designed from a neurological standpoint to keep us safe, the fight or
Yes.
flight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Anxiety, the the tachycardia, the sweating, all the stuff, the neurotransmitters that are
Physical
primed
symptoms. Mhm.
to keep us safe.
Yep.
So at some point, those people felt unsafe, and that
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
that that feeling, right, that feeling of
Yeah.
rejection or dismissal came along with that sense of not being safe, so they avoided at all costs.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I would have to ask those people.
And this is, and I think about the younger generations confirm bias all around them because social media has
Mhm.
made individualism look cute,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
glamorous. And so we don't see, you know, if they were a subject to study, we don't see the longitudinal results, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're still in your 20s and 30s. So as Sharkise mentioned, if you talk to anyone that's about 60 and over and going through those developmental stages of really,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
self-reflecting,
Mm-hmm.
no one is, they're rarely talking about these missed corporate opportunities.
Right.
I think even Steve Jobs had a really heartfelt letter about that too. At the time, one of the richest people in the world. This is a gentleman that created our lovely iPhone, Apple products. And mhm. And so he wrote a letter about that. All this money he has, he can fly anywhere, but he can't buy oxygen, right? He I believe he
Mm-hmm.
has some type of lung condition or maybe
Yeah.
cancer. So I think it's important that we are spending more time talking to our young people, and this is the intention that I
Mm-hmm.
have around the podcast. And it doesn't help that we now have this culture where children are divorcing their parents and their families of origin. It's like this big push now for estrangement. So, we
Mm-hmm.
have a generation out here that is lost and don't realize it. All this trap, been there, done that, right? All this traveling, all these bags and looking
Mm-hmm.
good and posting up places is not going to fulfill your heart the way you think it
Right.
will. And so I think that those type of responses, Aisha,
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of times I agree trauma responses because I'm counseling a lot of these people.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, like Gen X as well, we kind of fell for the okey doke, whereas like go to college because our moms didn't have these opportunities. Go to college, get your job, make your money, travel, see the world, and then find your man. But guess what? We got a biological clock, sis, and it's not just
Absolutely.
about the
Yeah.
procreation or reproduction
Absolutely.
of the clock. I don't know if my hormones can even handle a
Absolutely.
little person
Mm-hmm.
at this
Mm-hmm.
age. And that because I know we have these advances in medical, technology, and so people are having children later, they finding love later, and I love that. But that's the Cinderella story. That's not the story for everyone. So I agree in people's self determination, and they can make
Mm-hmm.
whatever decisions that they want. But I want them to sit down and have real conversations with
Yeah.
people who are them, but later in life. What
Mm-hmm.
are
I
your
think
thoughts, Taylor?
so. I do think that we are designed to have human connection. I think that that is just that is biblical design, right? It's not good for man
Mm-hmm.
to live alone, right? Like I believe that that's the way that we are designed. I don't think that every person is called to marriage. And so if
Mm-hmm.
we create a narrative
Mm-hmm.
where that companionship is the goal, and then they don't reach that, I guess, goal or that
Mm-hmm.
level of
Mm-hmm.
marital relationship or
Mm-hmm.
even motherhood or parenting, then I think that we're creating a space where people may feel like they are unfulfilled if they
Yes.
don't
Yes.
reach
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
space. And I do believe that you can have a fulfilling life because
Mm-hmm.
you may not be called to marriage. You may not be called
Mm-hmm.
to parenting. I mean, we can see plenty of, and I'll just speak from a woman's perspective, we can see plenty of women in the Bible who were never married, who never had children, who did
Mhm.
extraordinary things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe that every person may be called to marriage or called to parenting. I would just want to know, are they operating out of their God-given design, or is
Mm-hmm.
it this trauma response and I'm
Mhm.
making it seem
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm not doing this, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's not, that's not my life. That's not
Yeah.
the way it's supposed to be. And
Mm-hmm.
is that your default versus is that really operating out
Correct.
of, where you are? And I don't know if everybody may know the difference between the two, right?
Yeah.
So I
Mhm.
think that that's where, to your point, Aisha, that's where it can kind of be a fine line, because yes, you can have fulfillment in being single. You can have fulfillment
Mm-hmm.
in being,
Mhm.
the best auntie, if that's the design of your life, right? Like if
Mm-hmm.
that's where you are supposed to live. But if that's where you are because you have these walls up and you are not
Mm-hmm.
open to what it's going to cost you to reach that other space of marital relationship and companionship and parenting, then yeah, I don't think that's a safe space for people. I think that they created to look like that, but
Yeah.
that may not be what it really
I,
is.
I think
Mhm.
I think I think the resolve and the key is what you just said, Kisa, is sovereignty without either,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
And that person who's able who that person without the childless man, the childless woman,
Mm-hmm.
the marriageless man, the marriageless woman,
Mhm.
who in that predicament, I won't say predicament is negative, in that situation as a sovereign person, then you know that's what the universe had for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? If not, that person is usually responding or has
Mm-hmm.
adapted to a situation where they move away from marriage or having a child. And I used to point about just biology. There are some women and men who just can't have children
Yeah.
biologically,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
right? Right. The person who can most easily accept that is the sovereign person, the person
Yeah. Yeah.
who's at peace with themselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, they will think that they are less than, that something's wrong
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
because they
Mm-hmm.
couldn't. But I go back to the marriage. Like what how are we defining marriage here, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have to have a legal binding. I spent the weekend with my girlfriend. Right? She is one of my girlfriends. She is 60. She's been married twice. And she has a partner, right? Not her boyfriend, is her partner, right? And they've decided, and he's 10 years older than her, and they've decided that they are not getting married,
Yeah.
right? They've
Mhm.
decided that.
Mm-hmm.
So, when people, one of the first thing, a knee jerk response to hearing their relationship, most people say, well, are you guys married? Like that's the
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
default optimal relationship. But
Mm-hmm.
as I observed them and spent time with them, they have a beautiful union.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They own property together, and
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
they just go about they're individuals. He let her mind her business, and she let him mind
Mm-hmm.
his business. And when they come together, so how are we defining marriage? Is marriage legally binding, or it's whatever you decide that
Mm-hmm.
partnership is
Yes.
for
Right.
you?
Yes.
I
You know.
think
And I
that's
think
what
that
it
if
is.
that, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if that works for them, right?
Yeah.
Because I know
Mhm.
plenty of older people because of benefits, right? Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to lose these
Mhm.
benefits. I
Mm-hmm.
know plenty of people that operate from, we're going to be together. We are
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
committed to one another. We do all the things
Mm-hmm.
that we're supposed to do as husband and wife, but we're
Mm-hmm.
not going and getting that legal document and getting married. And I
Yeah.
think if that works for those two people,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
who is anybody to say that
Mhm.
is not a healthy
Yeah.
relationship?
Agree.
My
Mhm.
question would be, is that what both parties want, and not your
Correct.
girlfriend, but just in
Correct.
general.
Yeah.
Is that what both parties want, or is one person settling because that's what the other person is offering? And I think
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
sometimes that's what happens. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to settle for this relationship because this
Yeah.
man says he's committed to me, or this woman says she's committed to me,
Mm-hmm.
but I really do desire, for whatever reason, from my own paradigm, from my own
Right.
see you get model, from
Mhm.
my own learned behavior, I desire the marriage and the piece of paper, but I'm settling for what this person is giving me. And that would be where I would have the question, right? Are you really operating in what is working for you, or are you settling in what that other person is offering to you?
I
Well,
would worry about that's the discordant couple, and I would
yeah.
worry about
Yeah.
that too.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mhm.
and I think part of it is, as Sharkey stated, it's all about people living in their own authenticity.
Yeah.
And so if you are clear on who you are and what you desire and want out of life, it doesn't matter if you're married legally, formally,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
cohabitating, single, childless,
Yeah.
single with 5 children. That solvency comes from you aligning your own values and belief system
Mhm.
with your
Yeah.
behaviors,
Yeah.
right? Not someone
Mhm.
else's. And so I think, unfortunately, because we're out here, a lot of us moving in this emotionally immature
Mhm.
mindset, we are making all of these emotional decisions, connecting with people or not connecting with people without really doing the work and knowing
Mm-hmm.
who you are and what you want. I met an
Mhm.
80-year-old couple the other day, same thing. And unfortunately, we were talking about end of life
Mm-hmm.
issues, and they didn't get the legal documents in place. So here you've been with this person for
Wow.
40
Mhm.
years, and we have to default to their child,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
right? That don't necessarily care for you.
Yeah.
Right.
And so my
Right?
advice to anyone who wants to have this informal marriage or union, purchasing property and doing all of these things, you need to make sure you are going all the way. You're covering all of the
Ex-
legal matters,
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
the different nuances and things that'll come up. So I'm a believer in whatever you do, do it right.
Mhm.
So if you and
Yeah.
so if you're going that route, like, hey, we're older now, I want my pension to myself, but let's just put some things in place, some safeguards. But what
Yep.
people are doing is making more emotional decisions where I don't want to be alone. I want some help with these bills. I'm going to cohabitate. We're going to be together. And before you know it, 10 and 15 years have gone by and you did
Mhm.
not handle any of your business.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or,
Yeah.
as Kiza is saying, I've been settling all this time.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, because you get to the hospital and you know their allergies, you know their routine, you know their,
Mm-hmm.
Or
they like a hot, they like a cold, you
mm-hmm.
know all
Yeah.
the things, and they're like, and who are you?
Who are
And you're
you?
the long-term girlfriend, or the obituary
Mm-hmm.
long-term friend, because you
Absolutely.
have no legal right, to have any say on what happens with their care, who can come and visit, all the pillow talk that you guys have had.
And you just
It
wipe
Mhm.
their
means
butt the night
nothing.
before.
Right.
Absolutely.
It means
Exactly.
nothing if you don't have something in writing to say, this is the person who is,
Mhm.
responsible for me. So if you, again, are not settling and that's what you really desire, then you're not going to have no problem putting those things in
Yeah.
place, those things in writing. But sometimes, again, we're settling, thinking, hoping, wishing eventually that's going to happen. And it doesn't always pan out that way.
Yeah.
Exactly. And another question prompted. And I promise I'm gonna behave. So, from a
And
clinician's
misbehave.
But from a clinician's standpoint, because as Miss Aisha mentioned, loneliness is essentially going to be another epidemic. So the concept of marriage and how marriage looks differently for each person. What about individuals who do decide to get married, but their families aren't supportive? Because the
Mhm.
individual could either be like very young, or let's say
Mhm.
if they're culturally wise, it's another race and they're intermarrying in some cultures. They don't like that. They don't want that. They wanted you to marry who your mama looks like, who your daddy looks like. And that's something that I've even heard from individuals who either call 988, they feel judged, that their relationship is not acceptable, they don't have a lot of support. And when they're needing someone to vent to, they're calling crisis lines because they can't vent
Yeah.
to a sibling, they can't talk to a mom or a
Mhm.
dad because they don't believe in who the person married. They don't believe in, you know, blending cultures and interfaiths. So, how do we speak to that? Because marriage is relevant, but individuals who may not be as progressive or as willing to understand that, hey, some individuals are God ordained. Like they may not share
Mhm.
the same religious, or they may not share the same racial connectivities, but they were brought together and it appears to be working, but the family doesn't agree. Like, how does that work?
Mhm.
Well, that person is psychosocially underdeveloped, because if that person, if that person is at a point age,
Mm,
and they made a decision to get married, right?
mhm.
The fact that their family does not support, or is heavily involved that it affects their decision, means that that person has not resolved the stage of development where they have identified themselves, what they value, what their likes are, etc. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So whatever, at the time that they're getting married, they're not thinking for themselves as a sovereign
Mhm.
person, or as a continuously developing sovereign person. They're acting and making a decision based upon what their parents. They're thinking of their parents.
Mm,
They're engaging in their parents' projection of what their life should be. They haven't made a decision about their life, and I would say that person should not get married.
I
And not
I
because
must have misunderstood. I thought she was saying they were already in the interracial marriage and they were happy, or the different culture. Did I misunderstand it?
I thought you said they were deciding to get married.
Yes, deciding
yeah,
to.
yeah,
Oh,
yep,
okay, got you.
deciding,
I
but
apologize.
Yeah,
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, they
yeah.
should they shouldn't get
Hmm.
married, and not because
Mhm.
of the parental or familial lack of support,
Hmm.
Mhm.
but because they depend on the familial support
Correct.
The
in order
validation.
in order
Mhm.
to move forward
Hmm.
with marriage. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's real
I have an
sad though. Yeah, I'll let you go ahead, Kiza.
I have a very unpopular opinion.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very,
Uh-huh.
very unpopular opinion. It is
Mhm.
very unpopular. But I actually believe in arranged marriages, right? I
Mm.
do. I think that, and again, this is a very unpopular opinion. I understand, but I think that when we look at it culturally, right, when cultures arrange marriages,
Yeah.
they are looking at it from a perspective of what we are, how we are going to fulfill purpose within this
Mhm.
marriage, how we are going to promote culture, belief,
Hmm.
um, systems within this marriage. They're not looking at what most people get married for, which is love, right? We get
Mhm.
married because I love this person. That is not something that is what is, I guess, considered at the forefront when you're
Hmm.
talking about
Yeah.
arranged
Mhm.
marriages. And so I do believe in the concept of arranged marriages because I believe that most people out say in our culture, we get married because we love a person. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I love you, you love me, and all these other things might check off,
Mm-hmm.
the box, spiritual beliefs, children, financial responsibility, all those things. But I don't know if we're always looking at how we are going to fulfill purpose within our marriage. Like you're your individual person, I'm my individual person, and
Mm-hmm.
we're coming together
Mm-hmm.
as two people. And so if my parents would have arranged my marriage, right? Like just me, for example, I might not have gotten married to the person that I got married to the first
Mm-hmm.
time because there
Yeah.
was nothing about that marriage that was going to fulfill purpose.
Yeah.
It was because I love this person and this person
Yeah.
loved me. And so when I think about my children, I think, because again, what did I know at 22, right? What did I know at 23? I knew what I thought I knew, but now as I'm older, which is why I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to, get married at an older age when you've been able to live and have some
Mm-hmm.
experiences and all of those things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like as I look at my children, I don't know what they would be looking at in terms of what they are seeking out in a partner, but I
Mm-hmm.
know what type of partner that they need in
Mm-hmm.
order to fulfill their purpose, right? I know that because I know them in a sense better than they know themselves, not from a codependency place, but just from knowing who they are as individual people. And so I do kind of believe in that concept. And so I know that it is a little bit unpopular, but in terms of, your example of a person wanting to get married with someone else outside of their culture,
Mm-hmm.
outside of their beliefs, or they're really young. The question would be, are they really going to be able to fulfill purpose together? Or am I
Yeah.
marrying you because I like the way you look and I like the way you smell in the morning? And, because love does not keep a relationship, neither does children and all those different things. So I would not necessarily say that they should still get married, but I would have some consideration as to whether or not that marriage is going to be able to fulfill purpose. And if their
Mm-hmm.
parents think that it's not, then I don't necessarily know if that's a bad thing.
Oh, Keisha. So, so,
I'm
Again,
done.
so,
I've heard this, so
I,
that's why I'm sitting back.
I
Them
felt a
poor
little triggered
children.
there. Like I don't know. I felt I gotta think about this before I go to bed tonight because I'm knee deep. I'm not even knee deep. I am chin deep in parentification, and what we do as parents to our children, and not allowing them. And to parents' defense, including mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't understand what it is to raise our children in a healthy manner. We do a lot of overprotecting, projecting, trying to keep them safe from the things that we went through, all of the stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
me choosing, I'll take my
Mm.
son, right? He's taught
Mm-hmm.
he has taught me this. Listen, ma'am, I am an adult. And I don't need you in my business. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that that is what you would like for me to do, but that's not what I want to do. This is my life, and I need you to support me no matter what. And that is just in a career standpoint. And I have almost begged him to do a lot of things, right? So that he can better support himself financially. But what I've learned in that is that I'm not loving him optimally, right? What I'm doing is I am I am telling him to live his life on my terms, not on
Mm-hmm.
his terms, right? I'm not allowing him to be an individual. I'm not allowing him to make decisions for himself. Those decisions are his decisions for his life that he has to carry up. I take my last breath today, right? So I challenge that because that is a degree of parentification. Again, life is in cycles, You got your early childhood, your middle childhood, your early adult, and your
Mm-hmm.
middle adult, and your late adult. And all of those cycles, there are nuance. There's nuance, and there are there's a hamster wheel that we all must go through. And even early in adulthood, when your child is deciding to get married, if she's a skeezer with 20-inch
Mm,
nails and
mm.
eyelashes back here, you
She coming to
understand?
your house.
And she came to my house. Ooh, I would, if that's what my son chose, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
But
I have
look,
to roll with it. But
she,
what that also reflects, now that reflects back to me.
mm-hmm.
Dang, Sharkeez, what was going on where your son chose, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
Rebellion.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Well,
Like,
fortunately for my
Lakeisha,
children, I
yeah,
am
you're,
unable
uh-huh.
to arrange their marriage, so
Yes,
they are
you
in a
are.
safe space. And I do
Mm,
support the decisions that they make, and they're independent and they believe in saving certain things, as when it comes to sex, not because of marriage or because they believe it's a sacred space, and I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
share that with anyone unless that is a person that I'm in covenant with. But
Mm-hmm.
I just believe in the concept of
yeah,
arranged marriages. I understand it, and I
Mm-hmm.
understand why it exists, and I
and they
believe
work.
that it makes a lot of sense, and I believe it works. And if
It
I
works.
could, I certainly would,
really,
but
I
I
don't think I would
cannot.
make a good choice. So
I wouldn't either.
and
I
I'm gonna
would.
tell you why. Because our children are multifaceted, and I appreciate that we
Yes.
know our children because we paid attention, we raised them, we invested.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this part of them that we don't know, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, and I understand people's right to make their individual decisions, and yeah, we supposed to support and things like that. But from a
Mm-hmm.
spiritual perspective, and I mean, even practical, it's not always about you. So I need
Mm-hmm.
you to make some good decisions to continue, whatever this family legacy is. So even if it's $5 we pass it on to the next generation,
Right.
I just need you to be, considerate of that. So I don't have a boy. And I think even my father said it very early on. He feels sorry for anybody to date this young lady. When she was 6, he was worried. So good luck to, this gentleman that can handle my little lovey. So I think she'll make a better choice than me. So I'm gonna go ahead and let her
Mm-hmm.
have that free reign in
Right.
finding her spouse. But what I would like for my child and a lot of other young women is that, just be mindful of how you move,
Mm-hmm.
as Sharkey stated, in every stage of life. I'm always encouraging moving with emotional maturity and wise mind at
Mm-hmm.
every stage of your life, because all emotional decisions aren't impulsive, and all emotional decisions aren't about negative emotions. Most of our kids have been created because we were in love.
yeah,
Everything was wonderful.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and we thought it was going to be something great. We weren't looking at
Yeah.
all the red flags,
Yes.
and some of the yellow ones. So I would encourage young people to just take their time and
Mm-hmm.
make sure that, as Kiza continuously say, that you're aligned with my purpose.
Mhm.
But also we have to allow our children to figure that purpose out. A lot
Mhm.
of kids are
Yeah.
raised in survival mode, and they don't do that purposeful work
Mhm.
until later in life. And so, of course, they're behind the 8 ball. And I would also just remind people that, as Sharkey stated too, we are physiologically designed
Mm-hmm.
to connect and procreate and reproduce and do things, right? And so, what that means is if you're a woman and you are allowing this man to um, leave his DNA, in your body, it changes your RNA and creates a
Yeah.
stronger connection.
Yeah.
Our soul
So
Absolutely.
tie.
you want
Our
to be
soul tie
real.
is created.
Yes,
Mm.
yes. So you
Yeah.
want to be mindful because it makes it more difficult to leave the relationship, as
Sure.
Kiza
Mhm.
was saying. But also, when you're going from relationship to relationship, you carrying all that with you. And so,
Mhm.
when you find that right one, they may be demons that you are toiling and fighting unnecessarily.
Yeah.
So, just be really mindful of how, you're moving out here in the world because, I always tell my child, it's not all about you. Sometimes it's bigger than you and you're playing a
Yeah.
part in what's
Yeah.
Yeah.
going on in the world. And that's
Yeah.
what marriages do and families do. We play a part in a larger world.
And a
Yeah.
bigger picture.
Kiza,
Yeah.
I want to say something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, because I'm thinking, and I should, she nudged a point within me. I am still struggling with the way I parented Adrian,
Mm.
right? I was a single parent, um, who was fragmented, and and as I reflect, I don't think I spent enough time with him. I
Mm.
focused too much on my career, especially in middle school and high school time. And I would even I'll be vulnerable and say at times I gave more effort to my brothers and sisters than my son.
Mm.
Mm.
Now the truth will come out in the Adrian's Hollywood story in about 20 years. I've seen a therapist.
Mhm.
so and I'm working on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's such a sweetheart. If I ask him now, you were the best mother, and I know we're not
Oh,
telling the truth,
Mhm.
right? Because he loves me, that he loves me so much that he doesn't want to hurt my feelings.
he
Sure.
doesn't
Mm.
know what he could have been missing, but at your age, you're
Yes,
self-reflecting. You know
Right.
where
absolutely,
you could
Right.
have done better. But that's
absolutely.
Right.
that's all of us.
I could have
Mm-hmm.
done
Yeah.
better. Introducing him to men too early, too many men,
Mm-hmm.
just all the things. Like, and I'm not even, and I'm not thinking about him. I'm just thinking about me and what I
Sure.
need and what I was jonesing for.
Mhm.
Tangibly, yes, he was taken care of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But the things that will affect his psyche and his emotion, right? And his manhood. That's what's most important. Him being a
Mm-hmm.
man. Because
Mm-hmm.
in my family, I'm the matriarch. There are
Mm.
no living strong men. Let me say this differently because I don't want to offend anybody. There aren't any living men who are able to support the family like I am.
Mm. Mhm.
So, I had a conversation with him a couple months ago. It's like, hey, you're the eldest of the grandchildren, right? So when my generation, my brothers and sisters start to die off, you're gonna need to be a man. Landed the plane, Kiza. I say all that to say, if I were to arrange Adrian's marriage, it will still be coming from places of insecurity,
Mm.
Sure.
wanting to correct what I
Mm-hmm.
didn't do right as a parent, right?
Mm.
So she probably would be me. So then,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
then I'm,
Mm-hmm.
it say God gives you what you want in your children. I mean, God
Mm-hmm.
gives you who you are in your children.
Yes, he
And
does.
Mhm.
Their
Adrian
reflection.
his head is hard as this wall that I'm looking at, right? So me arranging a woman like me would only be
Mhm.
tumultuous for his life and his
Sure.
relationship.
Yeah.
He would
Mm-hmm.
get divorced quickly.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it. I can't do it anyway. So it yeah.
No.
But
So
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I
just
look
wanted
at
to
what
bring
I
that point.
think.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, I was saying I look at what but and again, neither one of my children, they are young adults and they've never even had a relationship, right? Like they're
Mhm.
college and college age. So they've, not there yet. So I don't know who they're going to date because they've never dated anybody, yet in
Mhm.
life. But I think about what they would be looking for, and I know what they are going to be looking for is what they did not get, right?
Mm.
And so I know that when you are seeking a
Mhm.
relationship to fulfill a need that or a void that you have, it is not going to be a successful relationship
Mhm.
because you're not going to be able to navigate all the nuances of
Mhm.
this one piece of the relationship. So because I feel like that's what I know they would be seeking after, I would
Mhm.
not want them to, I would arrange something that would not be what they would be seeking after. However, I'm saying that from a place of the cultural understanding of what arranged marriages is.
Mm.
I don't know what they're going to be looking at
Mhm.
or seeking after or
Mhm.
who they're going to be attracted to because I have not yet had any of those experiences. No one's brought anybody home to say, this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend, for me to be
Mhm.
like, okay, what you see in that person or why do you like
Right.
that person? So I have no idea. So I'm
Mhm.
speaking kind of very generally.
Mhm.
Um, and they've done their own, I guess, healing work and
Yes.
therapy
Yes.
from
Yeah.
adolescent to now. So some of the things that have been broken in them
Mm.
and my failed role as a parent, they've been
Mhm.
actively and encouraged to address individually so that they can show
Mhm.
up as the best, emotional representation of themselves.
Yeah.
But I just believe in it as an institution because
Yeah.
I believe it comes from a perspective of fulfilling purpose and
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
what feels good here,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes, most people, even when I do couples counseling, why do you guys want to get married? The first thing they say is because we love each
Love
other,
each
right?
other.
And I don't think
Mhm.
that love is not important, but
Mhm.
love, as we know, it doesn't
Not
sustain a
enough.
relationship.
What's
It's
love
not
got
enough.
to
Got to
do?
Well,
do.
Got
Right.
to
I
do.
think it does. I
Ask
think it does
Tina.
sustain it. I think love does sustain a relationship, but you have to
It does.
define what love is, right? And
Yes.
right, and you have to. This may be going off topic, but love of yourself, and that
Mm.
used to be so cliche to me back in the day
Yeah.
when I was in the streets and doing all the things and doing all the things, right? But now it's like that resonates so much with me. Like
It's
love
real.
Mhm.
yourself. I am not going to give you a cup of coffee before make myself a cup of coffee. I can't
Mhm.
offer
Right.
you what I don't offer myself. So
That's the
when you
Right.
golden rule.
two
Yeah.
people come together in that
Mhm.
way, and that for me, that's redefining love individually, and my love for someone else. And my
Right.
the
Mhm.
the first term that comes to mind when I say I love you is that I respect you. Right?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yes. Come on, somebody.
I respect you. Like, I love Aisha. I've known Aisha since 2023. It ain't even been a good three. It's been a little over 3 years. I met her in the hotel by the way of a conversation with somebody else,
She was
right?
being nosy in our
And,
conversation.
and she's the second to the last adult added friend I have. I'm done after that. No more. But
No more friends. What was
but
that? This used to be
I
a saying, no
respect
new friends.
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I love Aisha. I know I love Aisha because I respect her.
Right.
Mhm.
And that applies to any romantic relationship as well. That's
Mm-hmm.
the first thing. If I don't respect
Yeah.
you, if I don't
Mhm.
respect you, I don't love you. And when you talk about men and how men think, that's how men think. If they
Yep.
don't respect you,
Yeah.
you
They
will
don't love you.
never. They will.
Right.
They will accept your "I love yous." I love you, babe.
Mm-hmm.
I love. They don't say.
Mm-hmm.
They won't mumble one word because guess
Mm-hmm.
what?
Mhm.
Because they don't respect you.
I agree.
Mhm.
And I tell my child that don't let anyone get comfortable with disappointing you.
Right.
Mhm.
Because that means that there may not be this reverence and respect for you and your needs. And so if you don't love yourself, you will not be able to identify when relationships are failing or not meeting both needs,
Mm-hmm.
both
Right.
of your needs. But I want to go back to something you both said. I don't
Mhm.
know if I believe in it being failed parenting. I think that we have learned lessons,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
a part of understanding learned lessons is that you can go back, you can apologize, you can
Right.
repair.
Mm-hmm.
And I encourage everyone to
Mhm.
sit on someone's couch and sit with some of those thoughts and emotions and experiences from their families of origin before they even go date, before
Yes.
they
That's important.
clearly get into a marriage,
Right.
because you all of that, it influences the decisions that we make. And so if we're broken, we're going to attract other broken people, because
Mhm.
naturally we look for familiarity and and
Mm-hmm.
consistency, right? Because those are those mental shortcuts, even if it doesn't feel good. So,
Mhm.
when we talk about our children going out dating, and maybe some things that we didn't do the best at in parenting, or we left some wounds and some things that they still desire, do the work. Because if you are aware, that experience not going anywhere, but once you identify that's what it is, when you're with
Mhm.
someone, you can kind of address it, as it happens. And so I'm always pushing for therapy so it can increase your capacity,
Right.
your insight and self-awareness. So when
Yeah.
these things show up in your relationships, or when you're
Mhm.
single, you know what it is. It reduces the false guilt, or disappointment, and feeling like you're doing something wrong with you, and you can just
Mhm.
address it from there. So I think when it comes to our children, if you understand that my mom didn't show up this way, so this is why I desire this, like the whole cause and effect correlation,
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
I can create a different choice or a different pathway. And so I know even for me, I understand. I did the work a few years ago, where it was like, okay, this is why I operate and attract what I attract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is
Mhm.
what went on, when I was younger. This what went
Mhm.
on in these relationships. So now that I'm aware
Yeah.
of it, I'm in constant conversation with myself. Are you
Mhm.
triggered because of that, or you can trigger because of this past? And so let me analyze, let me look at it, and then make, the decision from there. So I think it is important, that people are sitting on a credentialed person's sofa or virtual, and really looking at the impact, and present influence that our
Mhm.
childhood had
Mm-hmm.
on us, because of the
Right.
decisions that we're out here making, whether it's financial and career decisions, whether it's relationship decisions, marriage or not,
Yeah.
or not. You
Mhm.
need to understand your own cognition and why you
Yeah.
move the way you move. And the only
Right.
way you're going to do that is if you look at it
Yeah.
and not get
Mhm.
distracted by what the world say. Because the world will tell you, girl or boy, you fine by yourself.
Right.
Get that bag. What
Yep.
they
Yep.
say,
Yep.
Yes.
I catch flights, no feelings, and all of that. I don't know if it's by design or not, but I'm always seeing the black women with that
Mhm.
nonsense.
Yeah.
And so, I'm gonna need you to catch some feelings. I'm gonna need you to sit in them damn feelings,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
lean into
Mhm.
them, resolve them, so you're not projecting them on to the next generation. Because whether you are a parent or not, you are setting a tone for the next generation.
Right.
So
Mhm.
that's my spiel. Go sit on a couch, have several seats.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And Keisha, thank you for that perspective about arrange, because that caused me to think. I want to be thinking about that.
Oh Lord,
Yes.
Keeza, what you do?
I
Yeah.
mean, but if you want to think
Th-
about it, there are shows like there's even Indian matchmaking on Netflix, and then there's
Mm,
Married at First Sight. However, that Married at First Sight show, I mean, it's good reality TV, but it experiments with marriage.
mm,
It done did our sisters wrong on that show. So if anyone is watching, do not go on that show because getting an annulment for nothing,
mm,
and you know that person's not your type, but you still keep going with
mm,
it,
mm,
and
right.
mm,
you're no, absolutely not.
Mm.
mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm,
Mm-hmm.
It's
mm.
just my little belief system. It's not gonna go
No,
anywhere
but it's
outside of
fine.
my
I
little
mean,
No,
belief.
no, it's fine.
I like
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never had the conversation about that.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
for me, my experiences with that are none or through other cultures, not our culture.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I think the wealthy and upper middle class are
Mm-hmm.
doing that more than we think,
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
and have done it, right, to continue their legacy and
Sure.
protect assets.
Keep the
So
wealth in the
um,
family.
Yeah, I can see that because I will be introducing my child to someone and that I think may be a good fit. So in some sense,
Mm.
you are manipulating it a little bit, so it can be considered arranged. But
Mhm.
I'm going to let you all close out the benediction. What is the benediction? The
Mm.
recommendation is marriage still relevant?
It is.
It is for Keys. It's relevant.
I think so. I think
Mm.
we decided that
Mhm.
it is still relevant. It's
Mhm.
Okay.
individualized, but
Mm.
it definitely as an institution, I think it is definitely still relevant.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It, it
Mhm.
it is, marriage is current and it's meaningful, whether it's a legal binding or a non-legal binding. The partnership, the lifelong partnership between
Right.
two human beings is current, and it means that I don't have to walk through life alone.
Right.
Mhm.
It means that I have someone that I can tether with in order for my own development, for furthering my development. It means that I can have an experience of God's love through a person,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Right. And it means that if I leave before that person, I can have someone by my side,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mhm.
and not feel alone. So it is current and it is meaningful.
Yeah. Aisha.
Yes, yes, ma'am, and definitely love is patient and kind. But
Mhm.
but what I will say is that it's also something beautiful too when you're able to really understand what true love is, and also give yourself grace if even if you may not know what it is right away. And I would say, as someone of the older Gen Z category, what I have learned is that it's okay to not feel like you're ready, but it's
Mhm.
also okay to have open dialogues. And that's something that I want to stress for every mom, every parent, every auntie, every guardian, every somebody, and you have someone in your life that is exploring this topic of marriage. Be non-biased, be
Mm-hmm.
open-minded, but also create a safe space where they feel comfortable to share however they're feeling in this moment, because some individuals may be like, forget it, I'm gonna be a nun, I'm gonna just go to the church and just be by myself, and the next thing you know, you see them bring someone home for Christmas and you're like, what
Mm-hmm.
happened to that? Don't
Mm-hmm.
be the I told you so baby.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could probably have your own thoughts inwardly,
Right. Right.
but definitely allow someone to have a human experience, but also be vulnerable in guiding them through it and loving them through it,
Mhm.
because everyone is learning in their own way. And even to I mean, my mom knows me to the point where she can probably pick someone for me, but she knows what I like
Mhm.
and what I don't like in tendencies and spirituality. But I want to thank each and every single one of you on this session for bearing your hearts, your soul, and for really teaching the kids. Like, y'all have brought kids back to the schools. The schoolhouses are open. And I want to also thank you for also being vulnerable and admitting to what you may not have known, but also celebrating what you know now. That's
Mhm.
important.
Thank you. And thank you
Thank
for
Absolutely.
having
you.
me. I appreciate the
Thank you.
invites. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, ladies. Have a good evening.
Thank
Thank
See ya.
you.